Maybe the guy.
Yeah, you know what? Season one's fine. Season one's good.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into the sixth floor. Here we are. There's just three right now. I'm Yap. There's Johnson in the upper left and Sags, the bottom part of the Y here in this. So, you know, we're drafting the 80s tonight, and we were expecting our fourth member, Breeze, to be here because it was his topic. So he's not here right now. So in the meantime, we're just going to make fun of him until he shows up and then pretend like, well, this is now starting, and it'll fly by really fast. But why is he not? Why did he wait? All right, here's the deal. So we record this, and we're starting to, we get together, we record, and he sends us a text as we're starting, and he says, "I need 15 minutes."
I texted at like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And said 9:30.
Yeah.
And you two responded like, thumbs up, let's go.
Yeah. Fine by me.
And then he texts at 9:30 and says 9:45.
Yeah.
This is why we can't have nice things.
I do want to point out that he hails from Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So that, that may have something to do with it.
Different time zone?
So the Mothman made him late.
The Mothman.
Yeah.
Could be his haircut. I don't know.
Could be because he wore his hat backwards in college every single day.
What is his topic? Van Halen? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Best Van Halen songs from the 80s.
Maybe he's mad. Yeah, maybe he's mad because we limited to just the 80s, which
they have like 1,700 albums.
Doing it either way.
Yeah.
But they don't have as many as you think. They only have two in the 70s, and they're 78 and 79. So
they put out a lot of albums, though. It would have been a lot of. If you're not very versed like myself in Van Halen, it would have taken a while to go through every album.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I'm fine with it either way. So.
And as Sweet Brown says, ain't nobody got time for that.
Got bronchitis.
I got bronchitis. Lord help me, Jesus, it's a fire. There have been some great viral videos. Would you agree? I mean, that one and the one where the woman says, "The building is on fire." Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Man. Those great man on the street interviews are tremendous at times.
Yeah, I can't believe with me and Pat both downing Diet Mountain Dew every episode, they haven't called off a sponsorship yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. We need to tag them in some of the videos.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, tag Mountain Dew in some of the videos.
I can't think of two better spokespersons for them. I mean,
look at us. We're perfect.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Sure. Now, is it regular or is it diet?
Mine's diet.
Diet.
Okay.
Yeah. See, we're old. I can't handle the fully leaded stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I tried
one, and I'll try one like every couple of weeks. I'm like, oh, this is horrible. I can't handle it.
I tried all the like diet.
I wouldn't be a good spokesperson if I say another one of their products is horrible, but.
I tried all the diet drinks, Diet Coke. I didn't try Diet Pepsi because that's horrible. Regular Pepsi's terrible, but like I tried Diet Dr. Pepper,
right.
And Mountain Dew. Diet Mountain Dew is actually super, super close to regular Mountain Dew. Like it's negligible. So, and it's
What about the zero sugar beverages? What about like Coke Zero, Pepsi Zero, Mountain Dew Zero?
I tried all those. Just didn't taste right.
Yeah.
I thought I love Coke Zero.
I of those, Coke Zero is the one I go to.
Yeah, that is not a Pepsi product, as Mountain Dew is. So,
Yeah.
you know, we could go
Just
both
like
sides
two.
here.
Yeah.
You guys can have the Pepsi products. I'll take the Coke, I guess.
I drink a lot of water too, but
Yeah. Hey, Breeze is here. Okay, so here we go.
And of
He's
course.
all messed up. Look at it. Not only is he late, but he's sideways.
Yeah, but I can tell already he's dressed
He's
better
portrait.
than us. So
Yeah.
he's
There
got that
we
going
go.
for him.
There. Breeze, we're halfway done with the draft. Thanks for coming.
All right.
Nothing phases him at all. Nothing.
Absolutely not. He's the Iceman.
I don't get off work until 9 o'clock, so it's a rush to get here in time.
He's Val Kilmer,
Okay.
the Iceman.
All right. So what's the order here?
Johnson, me, Philly, all Sags.
All right.
All right.
Wow, man, that's 3 episodes in a row I've had the top pick.
Who are you paying?
I don't know.
Frozen
Diet Mountain
envelopes.
Our sponsor. All right, well, I'm not going to waste very much time because now just to clarify, we are going with strictly Van Halen songs that were released off of albums from the decade of the 1980s, 1980 through 1989. Correct?
Correct.
Yes.
All right. My number one pick, if someone had never heard of Van Halen, there's 2 songs that I would say, okay, listen to either one of these songs because these are the 2 that best capture what I think this band is all about. One of them is off their debut album, Ain't Talking About Love. Obviously, that's not eligible to be picked. The other song I put in that category is off their 1981 album, Fair Warning. I'm going with the song Unchained. To me, it is close to being the perfect rock song. Great guitar riff, catchy chorus, great drums, and one of the most underrated things to me about Van Halen, of course, I mean, we could have multi-episode podcast talking about how genius Eddie Van Halen is, but Michael Anthony, the bass player, his abilities as a backup vocalist added so many harmonies to that band, and I think that's on full display in this song. So again, the number one pick in the Van Halen 1980s only songs, Unchained.
Good. All right. So, like Johnson, when I was going through these songs, my first 2 or 3 songs that I would list, if we could pick any Van Halen song, would be off of Van Halen's first album as well. Johnson, you said Ain't Talking About Love. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I would go with Jamie's Crying. That's the one that I like from that album. It's just a kick-ass song, I think.
What's your profanity?
Yeah.
Yeah. So since we're sticking, like you said, since we're sticking with the 80s, where to go? I'm going off probably the most famous Van Halen album that really took them from being a top level, rock band into going into that kind of next stratosphere where they really just became a whole worldly kind of band, was the 1984 album. And, obviously Jump and Panama are the 2 big songs from that album that I'm sure that somebody will take here eventually. But I'm going with another song from that album as my number one pick, the song I'll Wait.
Love that song, and that's such a good song.
Yeah, to me, second best song off that album, in my opinion. Well, 1984 exploded for him because it was just the perfect timing with with MTV, as well. I mean, that really helped that album and take that. And I think that album and that band in particular helped MTV a lot as well. It was,
Yeah.
yeah. You know.
Yeah, and that's the thing with me. Like, I was fortunate as a kid growing up. My parents were big music people, and so my parents had a lot of the really cool albums from the 60s and 70s. So at an early age, I was exposed to Zeppelin, The Who, all these great bands from the 60s and 70s. But as a young kid, you listen to the Stones or the Beatles or whoever, and you like, oh, this is good, or you kind of understand like these bands are big. But like Johnson's saying, when Van Halen was really hitting their peak in the early 80s, that's when we were becoming old enough where we were really like starting to understand like what's good, what we liked, what we didn't like, and where people fit in kind of in the pantheon of like who's the best guitar player or who is the best drummer or whatever. So for me, like seeing Panama and Jump is when I was really exposed to knowing that Eddie Van Halen is a really good guitar player. And then that leads me to go back and to these other guys and see, oh, wow, Jimmy Page is the guitar player for Led Zeppelin. And he's also was an inspiration for Eddie Van Halen. And you see how all these connections get made. And then so Eddie Van Halen for me is that person that, that you're first aware of that leads you to go back and understand who these older guys were that created him in a sense.
Well, Johnson, you said that that's the second best song off of that album. I'm going to say that the first best song off of that album is going to be my number one pick. I'm not going to pick Jump. That was the one that's the mainstream that, everybody loves that because it was a huge hit for Van Halen. But I'm going to go with, which is my personal favorite song from Van Halen as well, Panama. Love the song Panama. It's just, a lot of guitar riffs in there, a great song about, cars and racing and speeding down the road. And you can actually hear Eddie Van Halen revving up his Lamborghini in this song when David Lee Roth does this little bridge. But Panama, my all-time favorite song from Van Halen, that's going to be my number one pick.
It's a scientific fact that it's impossible to drive the speed limit when that song is on.
Yep, it's proven. Yeah, Car and Driver magazine, I think, came out with that.
Yeah.
So I'm not the biggest rock guy. Didn't really know much about Van Halen as a kid. I didn't pay much attention to him. Everybody knew Jump, of course. I was like, you couldn't escape that. And as Phil said, Panama, those were kind of the two biggest hits. I think also off 1984 was Hot for Teacher, which was probably not a great song. It was a pretty good video when you're 12 or whatever. Too. So, that made a lot of ripples in the music world, I guess, for different reasons. But I guess I really got into them, or I was most exposed to them on their 5150 album, which, of course, was Sammy Hagar's first studio album with them after David Lee Roth left. And although it's not my pick, I love how the album opens it's kind of subtle, and if you don't really know, maybe you don't know, and maybe it was just coincidence, but Sammy Hagar has this big hello baby at the beginning of the thing, kind of this almost introduction of like, I'm the new guy, and here we go. And it was really cool. But so my songs are kind of off that, and I like songs that tell stories, kind of, or make you think of, have, I guess, like feelings. And the one of the songs on 5150 that does that is Summer Nights. So I really like that. It just talks about summer nights and just what that's like, and they're drinking beers and just listening to music and hanging out with their girl and all that stuff. And it just gives you a feel of, and it sounds cliche and stupid, I understand, but it's like it gives you a feeling of summer nights. Like that's just like a cool feel. So so my first pick will be Summer Nights, again, just because it tells that story and it puts you in a feel of that. My other one is I don't really have any reason for it other than I just like the song. I don't know any of the, backstage behind it or what's going on with it, but Love Walks In is just it's just a cool song when it comes on. I just like that. I like the flow to it. I like the beat. It had a good beat and I could dance to it.
Great
American Bass
ballad.
fan.
Great ballad.
I just like that song. So those would be my two picks. Jump was too easy, so I didn't want to throw that in. Again, that's like the Thriller of the Michael Jackson songs. It's like everybody's going to pick Jump. So I went with those two. So
Good picks.
I love it. Both two great songs. I know, man. You keep every time we talk about rock bands, you say I'm not a rock guy, and I know just by knowing you, I know you lean more toward the hip hop stuff. But dude, I gotta say, man, your rock picks when it comes up are solid.
Well,
so
one.
I know.
You're making him blush.
Attaboy, Sags. My next pick is also going to come from the 5150 album, and this was one of the bigger hits that they had. This was a top 5 hit. I think it went to number 3 on the charts. And once you hear the beginning of that song and you know what's coming with a big guitar riff, you hear the really low, and then here it comes, dun 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 dun, and then I mean you can't help but just bang your head and just put the pedal down to the floor when you're driving, and it's just a tremendous song. Why Can't This Be Love? Just absolutely love that song, and it just rocks.
Great
out.
song.
Sammy was, and you could have that debate, Sammy or David Lee Roth, who's better, which Van Halen was better, Gary Sharon, you could throw that in there. No, I'm kidding about that. But, for my money, I was a big Sammy Hagar Van Halen fan. Not that I wasn't a fan of David Lee Roth Van Halen, but I like Sammy's better, and I thought it rocked out a lot. So that's my pick, number 2.
You guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but I felt that Sammy, when I listened to the albums going back a little bit, again, I wasn't a fan. I wasn't not a fan, but, I just didn't listen to him, I guess, back then. But it seemed as I listened, like once 5150 started and then the couple albums after that I listened to, the songs almost told more stories. And I'm not saying there weren't any before that, but the David Lee Roth was more just like, guitars and music, and it wasn't as much of a song. Does that make sense at all, or am I an idiot? I mean, I might be an idiot regardless.
No. I think I get what you're trying to say. I got a couple of thoughts on the Sammy Dave thing. I'll save it till I'm done with my picks. So I don't want to step on Breeze's toes in case he picks one of the songs I'm gonna bring up. So.
All right. So yeah, my thought on that is I probably, me and Johnson might have a little bit difference on this, but like for me, I like the earlier Van Halen more than the later Van Halen. The songs you guys picked from 5150 are definitely songs that I enjoy listening to. But for me, like those earlier Van Halen songs are just, they're not as polished. The production values aren't as high quality as they are in some of the later albums, and the sound is just a little bit more raw for me. So that's why I kind of lean that way. So having said that, my second pick is a song that I really like. From 1984 album, Drop Dead Legs.
Good one. On the Roth versus Sammy thing, I love both versions of the band, and I am probably one of the few people that will defend the Gary Sharon album. Van Halen 3, not from top to bottom, not a great album, but there is the first single off that album, Without You, I'll put that up against any of the Sammy and Roth stuff. That first single was great, and people rag on Gary Sharon, but I mean, what's the dude? Eddie Van Halen calls and says, "Hey, you want to sing for us?" And of course he does. but specifically between Roth and Hagar, here's the thing I tell a lot of people, because I have a lot of friends on either side of the Jordan versus LeBron debate. You know what? It's okay to like both of them. You know, it's okay to say they're both good basketball players. It's okay to say David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar are both, you know, great singers. I will say, to me, David Lee Roth is a much better front man. Sammy Hagar, probably technically a better singer. And a lot of people seem to think like David Lee Roth, you know, left the band and Van Halen just pulled Sammy Hagar off the street somewhere. I mean, he was a pretty accomplished, you know, musician before then with his solo stuff, and he was in a great 70s rock band called Montrose. He was the lead singer on their debut album. So I'm a big supporter of all eras of Van Halen. So, but it is fun to debate the stuff. And I guess if I have to pick one, I do side a little more towards the Roth stuff, but I love the Sammy stuff, you know, as well too. But saying that, with my last two picks, I'm going to stick with two Roth era songs. The first one, I'm going off the 1980 album, Women and Children First. I'm going with Romeo Delight. This is another great, catchy song, great guitar riffs, great chorus, kind of a popular, I guess you would say like a deep track that they always seem to like performing live. So I always like those kind of songs as well. And then for my last pick, I'm going to go back to Fair Warning and the first song off that album, Mean Street. And again, I say the same thing about all their songs, you know, great guitar riff, you know, great drums, you know. So,
They were a pretty good band.
Yeah.
All right, that's back to me. You know, we talked last week in our show on Eddie Money when we kind of talked about Eddie Van Halen passing away at the end of the Eddie Money show we did last week. And we were telling the story about Eddie's, that famous guitar he had. And some of the other reading I was doing this week, I wanted to mention this evening too. We all know that famous Eminem story with Van Halen, right? So what was interesting to me about that is that how that story has evolved for me. It's become kind of a story that happened in three different phases. So the first phase is that we learned that Van Halen had these things in their contract where they had to have M&Ms in their dressing room and all the brown ones had to be removed. And so that's all you heard from that story. And everybody's like, oh, them spoiled rock stars and their weird, you know, quirky things that they want. And so you kind of think maybe that would seem kind of arrogant to kind of ask that kind of favor. So that's phase one. Well, then later you learn that phase two is that, well, actually the reason they did that was because they wanted to see if the venue operators were reading their contract. So they knew that if those M&Ms weren't in there correctly, then you ask yourself, okay, well, what else did they not read? What else did they not agree to? What other security or safety things might there be an issue with? So if they went into a dressing room and those M&Ms weren't in there correctly, they knew to have their manager or whoever go to the venue operator and say, hey, let's go through this contract again and make sure you guys have done everything that you said you're going to do. So that's phase two. And then I had learned that later. Well, this week I learned that there was a third part to that. And the reason that they were so concerned about the other aspects of the contract was that they had some of their road crew nearly electrocuted in some of their earlier shows. And I hadn't heard that part of it before. So when you kind of factor in all that stuff, it's like, man, that's really smart of them to do that. And this also kind of shows kind of the attitude they had about not only themselves and their own safety, but the safety of their crew and all the roadies and all the people that don't get any, you know, publicity or anything. So I just think, you know, that adds another layer to that story that we've all heard before.
I think it's a cool story. I think, you know, to think of, you know, to make a demand of pulling out the brown M&Ms as a test. I mean, they could have just gone through everything and made sure it was correct, but that was a good, it's like when I was working in a store, when my boss's boss would come in and they would look at, the accessory where we keep the equipment, the socks, and if the socks and the hats and all that stuff, and if that room was neat, they had a pretty good idea that the rest of the store was neat because that was the room that everything got thrown into.
Yeah.
So they always check that first. I was like, why are they checking that first? And it's like, well, that was an indicator to everything else. So I really like the brown M&M story. It's a pretty cool story.
It's taking care of all the little things, because if you have little things that go wrong, it mounts up to a big thing. So
Exactly.
pretty cool deal.
All right. So with my last pick, I'm going to the 1980 album, Women and Children First. And this is a kind of fun song, Sags' song, talking about summer nights and kind of how it takes you back to that feeling of being with your friends or your girlfriend or whoever and having fun and on a summer night. And that's kind of the way I feel about this song too. It's just a fun song, and it just kind of, you can imagine them writing this song when they're partying one night or something. And the song is Everybody Wants Some.
Good one.
Yeah. My last pick. First, let me say, if we went outside of the 80s only, I know there's a lot of good stuff in the 70s, but I would have taken one of the songs from the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album, Pound Cake. Love that song. I don't know why. Just a great rocking song.
Because it's awesome.
Yeah, I would have taken that one. But my last
three
pick.
awesome songs off balance.
Yeah. My last pick. Nobody's taking it. You have to take it, right? I mean, it's the biggest hit they ever had. You got to go with Jump from the 1984 album, because that's, a lot of people were introduced to Van Halen because of that song, because of MTV, because it was number one, because it crossed over and it was pop. And then everybody's like, "Oh, look at this guy. He's, wearing all kinds of bandanas and jumping around on stage. And that's a pretty cool video. Oh yeah, the song's pretty good too. What else do they have?" And then they kind of listen and learn a little bit more about Van Halen. So I think, that one song that hit the top of the charts introduced them to a whole new group of fans. So you got to go with that one as it's a number one song. So I got to take that as my last pick.
Dude, that song was so big, Kids Incorporated covered it.
Wow.
That is big. Yeah.
So I agree with Phil. If we could go outside the 80s a little bit, one of the ones I would have chosen is off also Carnal Knowledge. It would have been Right Now. Because I don't know. See, I mean, I hate to say it is definitely, but it's got one of the most, even if you don't know it's Van Halen, like when that intro hits for that song, because it was on so many commercials and, people have just used it for different videos, like that intro, everybody kind of knows it, right? Again, they might not know it's Van Halen.
Yeah, arenas play it a lot. Arenas play it a lot too.
Yeah,
sporting events. So
that would have been one of mine. But I'll go back to 5150 again. That was kind of my home cooking for that for Van Halen. So, and I'm going to go with Good Enough. Just that intro. Again, it's a great song, but I just love that intro. It really hit me today when I was listening to it. When Sammy screams out in that raspy voice, "Hello, baby." It was like, again, just it's a new era kind of thing, but it's still going to be pretty awesome. Was kind of the vibe I got from it. My third pick will be Good Enough.
I kid you not. I had the same thought with the same song earlier today. I'm like, because it was a risk, of coming out with a new singer. And I kind of just like right off the bat just said, no, hey guys, we're still Van Halen. So here we are. So.
Yep.
And could you get a band that has better intros to songs than Van Halen? I mean, once
Yeah.
you hear like the first couple of notes, you're like, oh yeah, here we go. It's on. You know,
Yeah.
Panama,
To me-
Jump, Right Now, Why Can't This Be Love? Just, you know, everything right at the beginning.
Yeah. Running with the Devil off their first album.
Oh, yeah.
That,
Yep.
you know,
You guys have, I don't listen to too much music now on the radio, but it seems that, and I don't know when it ended, but it back in the 80s, probably the 70s too, there was always a good like 20 or 30-second lead in to, it was just the music, right? Again, it's just that, like you guys said, just the lead in. And then they started singing. And now it seems like there's no lead in on a lot of songs. It just starts. Again, I could be wrong. I don't listen to a ton of music now.
There's not a lot of instruments on songs anymore.
That's fair. That's fair.
We got 3.5 minutes left and one pick to go.
I'm done.
Oh, I thought we were just doing 3.
Yeah.
Oh, you were the last one. Oh, yeah, that's right. Never mind.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me get in my final words about this band, and then you guys can close out. To me, Van Halen is the second most important American rock band in history. I think their first 2 albums, 1 and 2, the 2 that came out in the 70s, are absolutely flawless. There's not a bad song on either album. The rest of their catalog, the rest of the songs off the rest of their catalog that weren't mentioned are all honorable mentions because they're all awesome. But
who's the first band?
To me,
Dishwalla.
Aerosmith.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Aerosmith.
And that's yeah, and that's mainly just because of longevity. They were around a little bit before, have a little bit bigger body of work, but
I thought you were going to say Smash
Aerosmith and Van Halen are no. Aerosmith and Van Halen, the 2 most important rock bands in American history.
Best thing about Aerosmith was when Tom Hanks was their roadie on Saturday Night Live. Check one, syphilis, check 1.
Did anyone mention? I don't think anyone mentioned "Dance the Night Away."
No.
That was a good song from those first couple albums. That's really good song I like.
Yeah.
We mentioned "Running with the Devil." I mentioned "Jamie's Crying." Let's see. We mentioned "Mean Street."
I don't think anybody said Dreams, did they?
Yeah, that was a song.
Dreams.
I was going to.
Yeah, when you first started talking, Jason, I thought that's where you were going to start heading was Dreams.
Yeah.
And then you kind of switched on me, and I was like, oh. But yeah, I thought you were going to go for Dreams.
Yeah, that's a great song.
That would have been my 4th pick if we went back around.
Great video with the Blue Angels.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Who's next week?
My pick.
What are we doing?
What?
You're trying to get me to say it as we run out of
No, I
time.
want to know what we're doing.
We got 1 minute.
No.
See, you got time.
Okay. I've got it narrowed down to 2. Do you guys want to go something Halloween themed or not? Or you want to wait until the following week for
I don't like Halloween. I'll just say that out front.
Okay. Well, I was going to pick like
it.
best Halloween candy. I mean, but,
Yeah, I mean, you can't go
I
wrong
got
with
another
Halloween
idea.
candy, right?
Well, candy would be okay, yeah.
Okay. Or we could save that for the week after, the week of Halloween.
I know
Or you could
candy
do it
corn
next
sucks.
week.
Discuss via text.
We could
Huh?
you could do it next week, and then we drop it the week of Halloween.
Oh. What's the other choice?
Our favorite pumpkin
Saturday
foods.
Night Live skits.
Oh, yeah,
Wow.
that's a
From
tough
the
one.
80s?
Yeah.
Mm,
Wow. That'd be fun to research.
yeah.
Yeah.